word worried. I think they should understand that. I think this series is going to go 7. I think it's going to be fantastic. You've got clashing styles in many ways in terms of what we admire so much about what the Warriors do offensively, but they also are a notable defensive unit. And then, of course, the Celtics, who have hung their hat on the defensive end throughout the course of the season. I'm really excited to see what this switching and the length that the Celtics have is going to look like defending the Golden State Warriors. I definitely think they need to be sharp and on their P's and Q's. They're certainly trying to win a championship, but I wouldn't use the word worried. I think we're in for a really good series.
Alan?
The two of the best defensive teams, defensive rating in the league. So we talk so much about offense, especially with the Warriors, but this is going to be obviously about defense for both sides. You give credit to the Warriors and their defense. I mean, they are versatile. They're going to get guys back. Gary Payton II could be back in this series or expected to be, maybe even Otto Porter as well. Two guys that make an impact for them defensively off the bench. And then, to me, a big difference, a big thing to watch. Worried? I'd be worried about turnovers because both teams are high turnover teams, but the Warriors' turnovers turn into points for the other team in a hurry, and that's something the Celtics could take advantage of.
Yeah, what's their biggest concern, do you think, with the Celtics?
Well, I think the Celtics' biggest concern right now would be trying to figure out a way to contain those shooters, right? Because these guys, the Warriors, they're nonstop movement. These guys are always setting back screens, back cuts, off the curl, and as soon as you lose your eyesight on who you're defending, these guys get an open shot and have a quick release. So that's going to be the most challenging part defensively for the Celtics. But on the flip side, they also are the Celtics are a much bigger team, lengthwise, stronger, inside, outside. So it's going to be interesting to see this matchup defensively for both teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a chess match for sure against a very experienced coach and a first-year head coach, which is also going to be fascinating. All right, so Caesars has the Warriors as a slight favorite to win this series. Game 1 is Thursday in San Francisco, where Golden State is a 3.5-point favorite. Obviously, we know the Celtics have been a great road team in this playoffs, 7 road wins coming in, but certainly that's a tough place to go in and play. So who do you have to win, and in how many games? Monica, you go first.
Oh, man. All right, I do think this goes 7, and I think I got to go home court advantage ultimately. I think I got Warriors in 7.
You don't seem very definitive about that, Monica. That was...
Well, I didn't think we were going to get here necessarily, so here we are.
Monica's going Warriors in 6.5.
No, that was me this morning.
Off day.
Monica, they asked me this morning. I was like, Warriors, can I go in 6.5, like somewhere between 6 and 7 games? All right, Alan, what about you?
Warriors in 6, and they'll win on the road. They've done it before, winning a championship. But I just think that they have the championship DNA to get it done, and I think Boston will be chasing from game 1.
All right, Amari.
Yeah, both Monica and Alan make really good points, and the experience of the Golden State Warriors can be an edge for them. But I got the Boston Celtics.
Oh, I like it.
And I got the Celtics in 7 because these guys are more physical. They're more determined. They want to get there. They're hungry. And that kind of mentality, I think, is going to get those guys over the hump.
You're saying the Celtics are more determined than the Warriors?
Yeah.
Why?
Because these young guys, you think about Jason Tatum, you think about Marcus Smart, you think about the guys and Jaylen Brown, who was right there before. They've been to the conference finals 3 times and never really got over the hump. And these guys want to make a name for themselves. And so I think they're hungry for it.
Man, but I think of this championship team that was in disarray the last couple of years and determined to get back and win another championship. Monica?
Listen, I love that from Amari, and I think that's a little bit why I'm waffling. You can make the case for why the Celtics could get this done when you talk about their size, their commitment. But it goes back to our earlier conversation. The Celtics can get this done if Jason Tatum's killer instinct in the fourth matches what we know we're going to get from a guy like Steph Curry on the other side, right? And so I think that's where I got to lean on that championship DNA just a little bit because, to Alan's point, not closing out in Game 6, to me, started to put a little bit of question marks in your mind when it comes to the Celtics.
Yeah, and by the way, there's a little blank spot there, so I went with Warriors. I know, Warriors. Just saying, Warriors in 6. All right, coming up, LeBron James has a new head coach. Did the Lakers make the right hire? Can he help? First ever Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Now, per Second Spectrum, Jimmy Butler had a 29% chance to make that pull-up three-pointer with under 20 seconds remaining. Entering Sunday, he took just 19 pull-up threes the entire season. He only made 6 of them, attempted a season-high 3 such shots in Game 7, and he had made the exact same shot in the first half. All right, Amari, you played the game, you coached the game. How did you like that decision by Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, I think from a coach perspective, right, you have your best player on the basketball court, and you want to win the game as much as possible. So if your best player is playing great, he played great in the previous game, he's playing great in Game 7, and he has a chance to win the game with that shot, as a coach, I'm okay with that. As a player, I want to take that shot. I've been playing the entire game. I'm a little bit tired. I want to get this over with. So I would definitely take that shot as a player, and as a coach, I would agree with this shot.
Monica, you were there. What did you think? Was it the right thing to do?
I was like, ooh, right? Like that was my immediate reaction on the sideline. I thought it was a great look. Guys, listen, nobody has the license or the green light license, whichever word you want to use, like Jimmy Butler has. He's combined for 82 points. Like, he is the clutchest player on that team. And while we're analyzing shots, Max Strus hit a 3 with Al Horford draped all over him. So at this point, the Heat were taking the looks that they got. And again, you trust that Jimmy Butler's going to make a decision? I thought the shot was going in.
Alan, what did you think?
He's a 29% shooter in this series from 3. So everybody that'll look at stats and only stats will say wrong shot to take. He's not that guy. But as Amari said, as a player, you want that shot. As a guy that played 48 minutes, you want to end it. Think of the momentum as well. They were on an 11-0 run, and the Celtics were bleeding at that point. They were leaking oil. They were giving the game away. You make a shot like that, that whole Celtics bench loses all their momentum. They lose hope, and the building is now up for grabs. It's a big shot and a big moment. If he makes it today, we're talking about comparing it to one of the great shots in the history of conference finals. But it misses, so we move on.
But he plays 48 minutes. He was clearly tired. Should he have been playing that much in that game?
Yeah, you know what? It's Game 7, right? As a coach, I'm letting my guy go the entire game to give it all he can to try to get the win. So I'm okay with him playing 48 minutes.
Man, he gives it everything he has every time. Led the series in scoring. Monica, you referenced it. He averaged 41 points over the last 2 games. Does he need something else? Does he need another star? We got to get this guy to the finals again and get him a shot at a ring. Monica?
You know, depth is a luxury, so being able to add a quality guy is something that I think would help the Heat. But the more I've thought about this question since last night, Vic Oladipo is a guy that was once upon a time was an all-star, 2-time all-star when he was in Indiana. She shot 37% and averaged 23 points in 2018 and 2.4 steals per game. Can Vic get back to full form? Like the version of Vic that we saw in the playoffs here got into the rotation late in the regular season. So can Vic get back to form and help with some of that? And then, of course, you got to acknowledge Kyle Lowry playing through a hamstring injury. And so the Heat were a little bit beat up. Big picture, would depth help them? Yes. Do they probably need a three-point shooter that can also put the ball on the floor and finish consistently? Yes. But in theory, Vic's game, if he can get back to vintage Vic, also answers some of those questions.
Alan, you were telling us in our meeting this morning you'd like to see Lowry do something else.
Well, he's got to get himself into shape is one thing, and figure out at this point in his career, is he willing to do what it takes to be, get to that starting elite condition. I mean, he dominated this game in the ugliest way possible with all of the flops and all the different ways he draws fouls. And I mean, it just was frustrating to watch, but to him, it was effective. And that's what he is, I guess, at this point in his career. But to win a championship, Amari, I mean, in New York, they tried to build with stars with you. They get you, they bring in Carmelo, they bring in Tyson Chandler. Like, you got to bring in guys at that level.
Absolutely.
The question is, do the Heat have guys at that level that make a difference? Because the teams that are in the finals right now have multiple all-stars.
Yeah, I mean, what is the move? What do they need? What kind of player?
Well, the guys you have now, let's look at it this way. They got to get in shape. Like Alan was saying, Kyle Lowry needs to lose, 10, 12 pounds, get himself in great shape, get his cardiovascular up, and take a very serious approach in the offseason, and so does Bam Adebayo. He's in good shape as far as weight-wise, but he needs to work on his game and improve and learn from what he couldn't do in the playoffs this year. And then they should think about it, right? I think Pat and those guys, Coach Riley and those guys are going to sit back and figure out a way to bring in some more key pieces to help these guys get over the hump.
But what kind of piece? Really
Joel
quick. Listen,
Embiid.
number one thing. Joel Embiid.
That's the piece.
Jimmy Butler's bestie. I mean, he did tweet last week that Jimmy Butler needed another star, but boy, that's opening a whole can of worms there. Alan, thanks a lot. All right, the Celtics are the only team with a winning record against the Warriors, by the way, since Steve Kerr took over that team. So we're going all the way back to 2019. Boston's won 6 of their last 7 meetings against Golden State. I ask you, should the Warriors be worried about the Celtics?